I don't know about you, but I can spend absolutely hours just looking at footballers in Football Manager 24, 23, 22 for the whole of my life, really. I just like sitting there and looking at a player going, oh, is he any good? 1 to 20? Will I take a gamble? Will I like him? I do it all the time. Let's have a look how it works in FM26 in the player database. Because I'll be honest with you, there's a few tips I can give you today that will make it a lot easier for you to filter in. If is a big word, those filters work. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so we're going to go straight into recruitment into your player database. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is clear all because there's going to be quite a few tips. Okay, so the first thing we've done is clear all, and that gives us absolutely everyone at this moment in time. Here's a couple of quick tips for you on player database if you want to narrow down your searches. First of all, if you want to have a look at who and only your scouts have picked up, if you want that type of immersion, just click Scouts Only. And that will only bring up the players your scouts have found. So far, mine's got 161. That doesn't make much difference, but that's who the scouts have only got. Okay, now, if we go not considered, that gives us the 65,000 players in my database. And we've only scouted 192. Not great. But, you know, we can have a look then at loan interest. Nice and easy. Put on loans. They may not be listed for loan, but they are interested in coming to Ajax on loan. And then if that's not the case, you could do transfer only, interested. And then you get players like Taiwo Awanyi, Guy Nagarau. Obviously, these are scouted only. Take that off. And that will give you, you know, you're talking Ayub Bouad. I always want to get it wrong. Ayub Bouadi, who's basically one of the best wonder kids you've got this year. Or you've got Brian Gruder, who's obviously come from Brighton. You've got Archie Gray, Shea Charles. These are all extremely overvalued because of obviously the contracts and stuff. But 50,000 players want to join Ajax. That's not too bad. Right, that's nice and easy. That's how that works. Now, we're going to clear this. So first thing we're going to quickly explore is your filters. So transfer listed, as you'd expect, all transfer list. Loans, contracts, and we've covered transfer listing and loan listing. You've got your contract expiry, which means they are out of contract but may still be attached to a player. You've got your contract expiring, which is a players that can be expiring in 6 months. These are where you can get the bargains. For example, do we go for Neymar, for example, from Santos, because his contract is expiring at the end of the year? Won't be interested at this moment in time, but he's worth a punt if you can get something like that. You can obviously age this better as well, so maybe aim it for under the 20, aim it for players within 6 months and a certain age. You don't have to have all 42-year-olds, for example. You got EU and non-EU, which is basically when you got the restrictions in place. Unhappy, no preferred foot, and you can filter on attacking and non-attacking. One thing it doesn't give you, which is very quick, if you wanted to see players out of contract rather than just expired, you've just got to go to your criteria, which is an edit search, click contract status, and that will give you an attached instead of 6 months. So instead of expired, which would be 11,000 players, you got unattached. That gives you specifically 10,000 players without the club attached to them. You can also filter it for amateurs, which will give you 540 of them currently. I can see that in the bottom. These are all clubs which are basically free players who are amateurs, who you may be able to pick up on a free, which is interesting enough. If you are looking at your scouting, your minimal grades I would recommend are probably a B plus or a B. That would say you've got your scouts reckon you've got 18 players worth signing, or at least looking at more intent. I would say Oscar Belair is a fantastic player with an A minus, and these are all the B pluses, and A minus is an A plus. It's only scouting opinion. I won't worry too much about it. If you're looking for potential, Ryan Francisco, he looks a very good prospect coming out of Brazil and be an excellent sign-in. Here's your pros. Here's the cons, because he's out injured. We need to learn the language. Would encounter he isn't very adaptable, can only play in one position, fairly selfish, doesn't get stuck into rough challenges. But he's a very good player. So you can do that on player interest. Now, if you wanted to, if I just show you the views are a bit tricky, so let me just show you. Okay, so if you go to overview, that is what we're currently on. You've got general view info, which will be the basic. So world reputation is the reputation of the players. You got your country, you got your best position, and you got your club. Contract. Currently, because I haven't got anything masking it, I can see all the contract information, when they're expiring, and transfer information. Same with transfers, nice and easy. Selection info is obviously not that detailed. For example, we can see here, Baral has got 49 appearances. And we can see his positions, but we can't see enough. You know, it doesn't tell you what those games are in and stuff, so it's not great. Scouting transfer, so this is when the scouts picked up. Okay, it's going to cost us £1,700 to scout him, 17 million to buy, and we're expecting his minimum wage demands to be between this and his maximum of that, which obviously we do know because of the unmasked attributes. Makes it a bit easier. You can see where they think the potential ability is and current ability. You can see his club stats if you go into stats on club. So that might give you a little bit more information. Like, for example, we got Ugalde, for example. He was one of our recruitment focuses, and he is a very solid player. He's just out injured. And then you've got internationals, which is a good way of filtering out players when you're looking for, experienced players with international experience. It can help there when you're trying to filter out, are they at that level yet? Especially wonderkids, have they reached that level yet? So, filters. Let's talk attributes. One of the things which people don't read is if you go to pick attributes, you can highlight key areas for particular roles. So if you're looking for a fullback, you can just go fullback and apply. Now here you can see you've got 16 attributes applied for up to 15. There you go. You've got at least 11, maybe 12. Now that gives you hardly anyone. And that partly is because you've got your scouting on, because you're probably not looking for a fullback. So take your fullback off. Okay. Now, it's highlighting here 526 players. Again, you could just go in to pick any attribute and do that. However, if you come down by here, you can actually increase the individual attributes to how you like. Now, what I would do is keep clicking the attributes to go up. Okay, so we've lost everyone there on 14. And then you can choose match. So it will say try and pick out show me anyone that's got at least, oh god, this is where it's fiddly. Say 10. There you go. So there's 48 players with at least 14 in 10 of those key positions, key attributes. You got 17 here. So just there you go. You got 5. Okay. Now, if you were scouting it, I would use this to help you with your scouting when you're comparing players. I wouldn't necessarily do this in my own normal saves. But you can see here, now you've got Luke Shaw, Guendouzi, Concert, and a young wonder kid called Kizliak from Moscow, who's basically a very good central defensive midfielder, available for £12 million, but could potentially play at fullback based on the attributes he's got. But there you go, you can see Shaw here hasn't got all of the attributes over 14, but he's got most of the attributes over 14. And this is where we're talking here. You can use those attributes to narrow down players you have only scouted, which would make it a little bit more realistic for you. And we can see here now only Oscar's been scouted. So if you're only doing the ones off the scouts, that's how you would do it. And I do like Oscar. Oscar's a good tip. If you want to buy a player, Oscar's a bargain. 27 years old, at his peak of his powers, but $7.5 million for a player like that, you're doing all right. Okay. Now, one of the problems we've got currently is we cannot save these settings, which is ridiculous. We still can't save it. So, what you can also do is say you want to find, he's not a good at couple of games, but if you go Van Dijk, here you go, Virgil van Dijk. All right, now it has, it's done what I didn't think it was going to do, but fine. Go to the report and find some of the players. You can do this in the search, but you can also do that. Okay, now it's picked out here 6 players from Virgil van Dijk which are similar. So all we're going to do, because can you see now on the attributes it hasn't, all you got to do is double click the attribute. There you go. And you could say, okay, give us 2 and make it harder. So as long as they've got at least 3 maybe, because there's 5 key attributes, we'll be happy. So there you go. So you got Nicholas Otamendi and Virgil van Dijk. Well, you're not going to go sign Otamendi, are you? Or Van Dijk. So we're just going to mess about with this a little bit. See if we can get anyone through the door who looks half decent. We can see William Saliba, John Stones, is it? Or no, Guardiola, Kobasi. We're not going to sign any of these ilk. So let's keep filtering down. And remember, we can go show us only players interested in transfer. And we've got Jose Cordoba, who is a Panamanian. Virgil van Dijk, who actually has moved to Norwich. He was quite a bargain in FM24. I'd say for 1.4 million with the attributes like Van Dijk. I'd argue he's a bargain from the Championship as well. And you got Matty Pollock, who comes from Watford. Who's very similar. He just lacks that little extra bit of pace, I would argue. Very simple. Very interesting. Hopefully you've got some use out of that. Until next time, thanks for watching this. I know it's been a very brief, very quick overview of scouting, but there's lots you can do with it, and we're going to cover a lot more in the future. Thank you for watching. Check out one of our other guides. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.